for the school corporation. And then, as I understand, do you make a presentation first? Okay, then we're going to have a presentation.
As you may recall, annually, we are required by law to report our investment earnings from the previous year. And what I've historically done with the board is present the past 5 years. Just so you can get a snapshot. Was 40 basis points. We started, we're in negotiation now to try to at least maintain that, hopefully improve it a little bit. Just to give you some historical reference, prior to my taking over, when Steve Milliken was the director of finance, there were years in which we gained over $1 million in interest. So clearly he was either a better negotiator or more probably the market was a little different than it is right now. But you can see even in 2011, we earned 112,000, and so we're roughly half where we are after that now. So at any rate, that's a quick snapshot of interest earned. The only other item that we need to complete would be the election of the president of the Board of Finance and the secretary of the Board of Finance.
And that's just to serve for 1 year until another meeting, just like this one.
Just like this one. That's
And you need any kind of resolution to approve your report?
I don't believe so.
Okay, well, good.
I'll make I would like this. That we retain the same officers for the finance board for the next year that we've had for this year.
All right, and that would be myself as president and Christy as secretary, and there is no vice president of that board.
That's correct.
All right. There's been a motion made. Any questions or comments, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. There being no further business, I declare this meeting of the Finance Board closed.
Test 1, 2. Okay, that's good enough, right? Thanks.
Cameraman ready? All right. Before we begin with our formal meeting, it is our practice to begin with a brief moment of prayer, and all that wish may join. Mr. Thompson?
That's great. Father, we're grateful for a new year, and we look forward with anticipation of what our students and faculty and staff will do for their education and for our community. Thank you for all who are here, and as we go home, we'd all be safe for the next couple of days with some challenging weather. We're grateful for your grace and your mercy. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Derek. All right. The first order of business is the reorganization of the board, which we do every year at this time. First of all, I would accept nominations for the position of president.
Nominate Ron Woods.
All right, Mr. Wirtz has been nominated. Any other nominations? Hearing none, nominations are closed. All those in favor of Brian Wirtz as the board president for this year, please signify by sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, and I turn this meeting over to Brian Wirtz.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It is certainly quite an honor, and we got a lot of great staff and students, so I'm looking forward to this next year. So, Roger, if you can kind of keep me honest, this is my first to go through with this. So, other than a substitute president on occasion. So, although Christie did say that this does come with a parade, so that will
Look at everybody that's here.
It's all for you.
Yeah.
And we'll sing Hail to the
Yeah.
Chief later.
Yeah. So
Mr. Wertz,
I'm
the
looking
parade
forward-
happens immediately after recognition.
Ah, all right. I just need to know when there's a parade.
And Mr. Wertz, you're going to need the mic to come closer to you so that the video can pick it up, please.
Very well. Can you hear me? Good. All right. All right. Thank you. With that said, I would entertain our next point of business is to elect a vice president, and I would open for nominations for vice president.
Mr. Wertz will nominate Mrs. Ott.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments or anyone else that, hearing none, all those in favor of Mrs. Ott being vice president, please signify by the sign of aye.
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 Thank you. Next order of business is to elect a secretary. Do we have any nominees?
I would nominate Danny Vaught as the secretary.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of Mr. Vaught being secretary, please signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, thank you. Our current board salary is $2,000 with no per diem. I would entertain a motion.
Move for approval for $2,000 per year with no per diem.
Are there any questions or comments regarding the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Board meetings. We currently meet the second Monday of the month at 7 p.m. The exception is during fall break, in which we will move that to October 17th. Do I hear a motion, please?
I would move for approval of that schedule.
Are there any questions or comment? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The next order of business is actually to appoint committees, and this is not a voting, but it's rather a discussion item. What I thought I would do, if it's okay, is just read through our current appointees. We certainly have liberty to adjust things through the year, but doesn't necessarily require a vote, correct? Okay. Currently, we have myself on the Music Council, Mr. Thompson as the Athletic Council representative. Legislative Council is Mr. Mashmeyer. Superintendent Strategic Task Force is myself. Communications Committee, Mrs. Ott. Education Foundation as well, Mrs. Ott. Collective Bargaining Committee is Mr. Mashmeyer and myself. Central 9 is currently Mr. Mashmeyer, and we're proposing an alternate of Mr. Thompson. Mr. Mashmeyer, care to elaborate?
Yes, I've been the representative at Central 9 for a long time and thoroughly enjoyed it. And but I only have one more year on the board, and Mr. Thompson is certainly skilled in that area, and so it's the intent that while he may be an alternate, he'll be there at least half of the time, and that way he can he'll be ready to go when I step off, or will have had enough very quickly. but I think that he'll find as enjoyable as I have, because it's very rewarding to see kids that don't do well in a general setting excel there and go on and get skills and go on to college and technical schools and jobs and internships. It's very, very rewarding. So that's why I'm a little reluctant to completely step down, but I do want to phase out, and I appreciate Mr. Thompson's willingness to take some of that time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mashmeyer. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Currently, the representative for RDC is Mr. Vaught, which is an appointment by the mayor. So that's our committees. Is there any questions or comments regarding that?
One comment that I would make for us to consider, and as we travel through the State Board of Account audit, one of the things that they did recommend through conversation with Mr. Mercer, Mr. Mashmeyer, and I was to have one board member look over claims. And in the past, we've all kind of have that responsibility, but I would like for us to consider, and then maybe in February, someone that would take that responsibility on to look over the claim side. Although we trust, I trust Mr. Mercer implicitly, it's still one of the things that the State Board of Accounts said they'd like to get more eyes on those opportunities. So if you'll think about that and let me know, or let Mr. Wirtz know, that'd be great.
Question, was that a requirement or a recommendation?
We are going to get, it was a conversation. I will tell you that in the Title I world, for example, they are making that an action item that we have to come through with the corrective action plan. So I believe it's a strong recommendation. How would you take that?
I would phrase it that way.
That's the way I took it too. They were asking, but they were almost insisting.
Yep. It's just to further the check and balance.
My only comment is relative to the fact that this board sits as a level of governance, not an administration.
Yep.
And to me, that is a clear blurring of those lines of moving beyond governance into administration that I don't believe we're well suited for. It's certainly not an area that I believe we need to be spending our time in. But I understand the strong recommendation versus state law requirement. There's a fine difference. And so I'll hang on to that difference. So.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Clendenning. The next point on the agenda is appointment of treasurer and deputy treasurer. Do we need to vote on that? Okay. So we need, our current treasurer is Mr. Mercer, and our deputy treasurer is Mrs. Burton.
I'd move for approval on both current treasurer and deputy treasurer remaining, Mr. Mercer and Ms. Burton.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. The next is an appointment of the school board's legal counsel. And if I could recall, we extended your contract, Mr. Young, last month. So do we need to take action tonight? Very good. Well, then our current counsel is Mr. Young down here. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I would move that we continue Mr. Young as our legal counsel.
Very well. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. All right. That's why we've got so many people here. Next point is recognition. Dr. Clendenning.
Well, thank you. This is one of the joys of the school board meeting. That's to recognize outstanding accomplishments in our district. And tonight we have many as we start the new year. And at this time, Mrs. Brown-Nally will begin the introduction. Once you're called, please come up. If you're a student, stay up here. We'll get a group picture, and the same for faculty, staff, and community. Look at it right behind me.
We'd first like to recognize our Franklin Community High School students who have been named the Central 9 Students of the Month in their respective programs. Please help us congratulate Lane Voris in Construction Trades, Alexis Zolman in Dental Careers, Hannah Hinsley in Pre-Pharmacy, Michael Fitzgerald in Auto Service Technology, Caitlin Boo in Aviation Operations, and Sarah Scott in Culinary Arts.
Congratulations, Sarah. And one of the things we're going to have you do is introduce anyone that's in attendance with you, and then also tell us your area of expertise at C9. Thank you.
Okay, guess I'm going first. My mom's with me. She's the one holding up the pink phone there. And I'm in culinary arts.
And what do you hope to do with culinary arts?
I actually want to be a FACS teacher because I like teaching and cooking.
All right.
So best of both worlds.
That's outstanding.
I've brought with me my parents and my girlfriend. It's my mom, my brother, and my girlfriend Abby, and my stepdad. I am in automotive service. I plan to go to College of UNOH and go into being a mechanic.
Outstanding. Well, we're going to get a picture, and this is a great time for a photo op for everybody else. And while they're up here, I just want to tell everybody, if you're looking for an opportunity that you think, I don't want to go to college right away, C9 is an outstanding academic endeavor. We presently have about 70 students that attend either in the afternoon or in the morning. Most of our kids go in the morning. But if you're looking for career opportunity, talk to one of these students or talk to some of the other students. We did just finish a boot camp where Mrs. Brown-Nally, high school administration, and myself traveled up and shadowed students through their daily endeavors. And I would just encourage everybody to think about that. It's a great opportunity. So congratulations on your success and your outstanding leadership.
Morgan Hash could not be with us tonight. She is at volleyball practice, but we wanted to recognize her as she has signed a national letter of intent to play volleyball at Georgia State University next year. Her volleyball practice tonight, you might think she's at practice, but it's a big time team. It's like one of the #1 teams in Indiana. That's a national qualifying team, so it's a big deal. So we congratulate Morgan. Next, we'd like to recognize our first team All-State athletes. Noah Roberts was selected to the first team All-State singles, All-District, and state finalists for boys tennis.
Congratulations.
And Delaney Hill was selected All-State first team for girls soccer, which was the first in our school history. Congratulations.
And when the coaches of the respective athletes come on up as well, we'll get a picture. I know I'll pass the mic to you, then you can pass over to Delaney. Anyone that is with you tonight? Oh, you're I see. Here, Delaney, you're up. Anyone, and then what year you're in school and what you're hoping to do after high school if you're a senior.
Yeah. I brought my parents, Kathy, and then my sister, McKenna, and I'm a junior, and I don't really know what I want to do.
I'm Delaney. I brought my mom, Angie. I'm a junior, and I plan to attend Marian University to study nursing or pre-med.
Yeah. And remember, you have verbally committed to them, correct? So congratulations. So we'll get a picture at this time. Here, we can stand by him and all. Here. Thank you. How's it going?
We have 2 athletes that were recognized for academic all-state teams of their respective sports. Zosha Piotrowski was selected all-county, all-sectional, a semi-state qualifier, and academic all-state for girls cross country. Garrett Connor was selected academic all-state for boys cross country.
Congratulations. Zosha's not here. There's yours.
With me are my parents, Garrett and Christina Connor. I'm a junior and I plan to study chemical engineering after I graduate.
Where would you like to go to school? Any thoughts?
Probably Purdue or IU, maybe. Still
You
deciding.
made Mr. Vaught really happy right over here. Yeah. And you know, IU is starting an engineering program. You knew that, right?
I did not.
So, all right, we'll get a picture. Notre Dame's pretty good too. Yeah. And Rose, yes. Congratulations. I know. I did not. All right.
Next, under the category of leadership, we'd like to recognize Brandy Hensley from our central office, business office. Brandy has completed the required courses for the Indiana ASBO Voluntary Certification Program and earned her designation as Business Office Specialist, which requires 58 hours of instruction. Congratulations, Brandy.
You want the mic? Okay. Okay, you have to tell who brought you. You're attending with.
I brought my husband with me, Dwayne Hensley.
And Brandy's in charge of accounts, or paying all of our bills. And Mr. Mercer, anything you'd like to add about Brandy's expertise and knowledge?
Well, she's got lots of expertise, but I would say this: a lot of people don't realize the breadth of what they have to do to be involved in that certification program. How many hours, Brandy, did you attend? A lot, which really gives her a broad overview of all aspects of a business office, not just accounts payable. But she's a very valued employee, and we appreciate her going through that effort.
Outstanding.
Next, we'd like to recognize Amy Whitaker from Webb. Amy went above and beyond as a part-time media specialist at Webb Elementary by orchestrating a remodel of the Webb Library. She was able to get materials donated and volunteers scheduled to give the library a facelift. Congratulations.
I just want to say, as principal at Webb, Amy orchestrated this all on her own. When our Johnson County Public Library decided that they were going to go through a facelift, she has such a partnership with them that she just jumped right in, asked them what she could have. And then Amy, just tell us a little bit about the volunteers you got, the items you got donated, and what you did to Webb Elementary Library.
We did quite a bit. We repainted, we decorated, we moved every book in the library to make our library flow better. Our aides and our helpers and teachers just donated time and paint, and like she said, the library gave us pretty much all their decorations. I don't know if you've been there lately, but it's pretty empty there and pretty full at our place. So it looks great. And the best part of it were the students. When they saw the library, they were just like, wow, it's great. You stole that from the library. So that was the best part. The kids love it.
All right.
Who'd you bring with you tonight, Amy?
I brought my husband and my daughter.
Yeah. All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Melissa Paramore here representing Study Connection. Study Connection received an award of excellence in volunteer programming at the Serve Indiana Awards ceremony at the State House. Congratulations.
Talk a little about the award.
Okay. Well, this was a very exciting award for Study Connection because it culminates the effort of a lot of individuals over the course of 10 years. Deb Brown-Nally is on our board. Robin Betts is on our board. There are lots of people very deserving of this award. The two directors that came before me and all the building site coordinators who are volunteers and make this award possible. It was exciting for us to go to the State House to receive the award. My daughters came with me. My husband was traveling overseas for work, so he wasn't able to be there, and nobody's with me tonight, but he's working and the girls are at home studying, but they were at the real deal, and Dr. Clendening and Mrs. Clendening were there as well, and it's just, we're thrilled to receive this award.
And how many adult volunteers are presently involved with Study Connection?
We currently have 110, but it's about to change because we're expanding to the National Guard Armory and taking 10 Needham students there, hopefully this month. So somebody up here is saying, me, I want to go. So we will have 120 hopefully by the end of this month. So it's an exciting time for us.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Vaught, come on up. I know you're a study buddy. Come up and please get in the picture. Congratulations.
And Melissa, we'd like to expand into other businesses, correct? So if you have a business or work for a business in town where it would be easy for us to bus our students after school 1 day a week for an hour of mentoring and tutoring, find Melissa. Next, we'd like to recognize Michael Hummel. Michael was selected as the High School Music Educator of the Year award recipient for 2016 by the Indiana Music Educators Association. It's a great honor that FCHS has such an outstanding director and mentor teacher for our students.
I think you have a lot of students here. Students, if you want to come up and get in the picture, that'd be great. Come on up. And parents, anybody that's here to join him tonight, that'd be great. We're actually stealing a little bit of the thunder from the Music Educators Association because on Saturday night is actually when he receives the award from them. But we wanted to go ahead and highlight his outstanding accomplishments. And if you've had a chance to see the kids perform either through the different choirs or in the musical, Michael is the maestro behind the scene that pulls it all together or in front of the stage, depending on that. So we want to thank him for pushing us to excellence, and our kids really are the recipients of outstanding teaching.
I just want to say thanks to the school board and to the school corporation for allowing me to be here. 4 years ago, it was by design that I think that I showed up here, and it's been really awesome to work with such amazing students and have support from such a wonderful administration and staff. Hopefully that things will continue to keep going forward. I'm excited about things that are still happening this year. So I want to say thanks to Andrea and all the help that she has given me and support. And I think she had a little bit of a hand in this. And then my choir boosters and any of my parents who are here too, thank you so much for the support. It really means a lot.
Congratulations.
And then lastly, we have 3 fall sports coaches we would like to recognize for being named Conference Coach of the Year: Travis Gaypart for girls volleyball, Rod Snyder for boys tennis, and Adam Schwartz for boys cross country. Congratulations.
Outstanding. Congratulations, Adam. We'll talk a little about your season and also introduce anyone that you're attending tonight's meeting.
My wife Jill is with me, first grade teacher from Needham, and we had a great season. Our win-loss record wasn't the best that we've had, but we won the conference for the 3rd year in a row. We came within 3 points of winning the county for the first time ever, and made it to the finals of the sectional once again. And we had our first singles player make it to the final 8 as an individual, which Noah just got recognized for that, which was a fantastic experience for not only him, myself, but the team members that took the day off and went up there and saw him play. So being a junior, we only lose one senior that played in the top 7. So we have quite a bit of firepower coming back, and looking forward to next year as well.
Congratulations.
Hi, I brought my wife Allison with me tonight. This year we had a phenomenal season. We won our 3rd straight conference title. We won a county championship this year. We won sectionals as well as a regional championship this year. So it it was a phenomenal year overall. We do lose a couple out of our top 7 runners. However, we have a lot of guys that are eager to step up, and hopefully we can continue with the success we've had. What I think is probably the most important and definitely something that means the most to me, we had Garrett Connor Academic All-State. I believe as I know for a fact, it's the 3rd year in a row we've had someone get that award, which is just a phenomenal achievement. They have to score so well on their ACT and their SAT and have a certain grade point average, and it's a huge success. I want to say it might be 4 years in a row as well, but I'm not sure about that. But just the way that the guys step up and really work hard on the cross country course, but in the classroom, couldn't ask for any more. So,
Outstanding. Thank you. Let's get a picture. Garrett, you want to come up? Noah, you want to come up as well? Anyone else from the cross country team? If they're out there. Yeah. Dan, right here. Congratulations. Mr. Works, that will conclude the recognition portion. I want to thank everyone for coming out. And one of the things you'll notice is we asked the kids and the adults to introduce who's in attendance with them. And the madness behind that is because we really are one big family. And it takes so many things and people to pull things off around here. So that's why I'd like to have them introduce their mom or their dad or girlfriend or brother or whomever's in attendance, because a lot of hours go in behind this recognition. And so I wanted to say thank you to the parents, friends, and family that are here tonight. So with that, Mr. Works' parade is about to begin. Thank you for being here. Hey, Heather, there's plenty of seats up here now. There are plenty of seats left up in front for Miss Kepner. All right.
Right now, we're going to start, if there are any public comments regarding items on the agenda, now is the time. Please step forward and limit your comments to 2 minutes. Seeing none, we'll move on. Music Council, we just had our meeting today. We have lots of exciting things going on around the Music Council. The indoor drum line is just starting. We finished the musical in October, November, I guess it was. So we are still in the midst of reconciling that process. We've got some lessons learned that we're going to take from that. As always, there's opportunity for the choir to visit some other, Custer Baker, I believe, was the item on there as well. There was also some discussion items about how to go about the dollars that were allocated from the PAC to both the band and the choir, what those funds might be used for. So it sounds like that's still a discussion as well. So what else?
We're also looking at additional staffing, and they're going to talk to their respective principals, and also looking at curricular offerings.
Athletic Council?
I don't think there's anything other than note than what you've seen already in terms of some coaches doing some great stuff, as well as some students. I don't think there was, recall when we met last, and I think we've already talked about that. So. I don't know, Jeff, did I miss?
No, we haven't met for a while. You got one coming up.
All right, Legislative Council.
Nothing new.
I do have one thing that note for the school board as well as looking for ISTEP. I believe it's House Bill 1136 is looking at having the redevelopment commission appointment move from a non-voting member to a voting member. And that is getting a lot of traction as it is that, I'm sorry, to Senate bill. It's getting a lot of traction, so I think you'll see that come through again this year. It's been on the docket and conversations for the last couple of years, but I think you're going to see that move forward. The other one is regard to teacher compensation with performance grant. I know it's hard to believe, but there's been a lot of stress with that. And I just saw today that both House and Senate have agreed there needs to be a fix. They agree there should be a hold harmless, but it's going to be very difficult, it looks like, in some of their wording to make this thing happen. So we'll keep monitoring that. Ultimately, we want our teachers not to be impacted by the new test and new assessment. We know how much was budgeted, that was allocated in the education and general fund budget. So we'd like to see that flow to teachers, and we hope to have that, as Jeff said, by March to our teachers. But that's something we'll continue to monitor.
All right, thank you. Superintendent Strategic Task Force.
We are coming next month with a revision draft of Strategic Plan 2.0, and one of the things we're doing now, we've finished meeting with parent groups and community groups, and this month we're meeting with all of the teachers. We're calling it the Listening and Learning Tour, but basically we're going out to all buildings. We started at Northwood. We spent a day, and we're asking about different items inside the strategic plan and anything else. So we'll have a summary finding of that and look for board approval of the strategic plan in March.
All right, Communication Committee.
We meet next week.
All right, Collective Bargaining. We have not met. Nothing new to report. Central 9.
A meeting's later this week, so nothing to report.
All right, RDC.
The thing that most impacts the schools probably has to do with the TIF districts, which at the last RDC meeting they voted to. At this point, it's obviously nothing final. It's just a matter of passing it on to the next board for the other governmental agencies to take a look at the TIFs, that sort of thing. But at this point, we don't know what the effect is going to be on the schools, if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. But it is, so at this point, it's just going through the process. And they approved it to go from the first step in the process to the next step, and for the other boards to get their input and that sort of thing on it. So we'll see what happens. It should be a while before to make its rounds.
Danny, could you remind us, is this an expansion of TIF districts or a recertification of the existing ones?
It's an expansion. So and they're wanting to utilize the funds up and down 31. And one of the things that they're wanting to do is as far as with help with students being able to get to the schools and that sort of thing, more walking or bike riding, that sort of thing, a safer environment. Do you have anything to add, Jeff?
No, the one, as Danny mentioned, the one unknown is how big the TIF zone is going to be. In effect, they're looking at in front of Kroger and in front of Meyer when they come in, but there's been conversation at one point stretching all the way from Knollwood Farms all the way back to Jefferson. Obviously, those two have a massively different impact on the school corporation were they to do it. So they're still in the talking stages, but with Danny's help, we've tried to stay on board with kind of where they're going. And they have asked our opinion, which is good. They do care about the school corporation, so we'll stay right there with them as they move.
All right, thank you. That brings us to the consent agenda. Entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions regarding the consent agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Superintendent reports, Dr. Clendenning.
Thank you, Mr. Wirtz. Every January, we come together and look at the year that's passed and also looking ahead. And so each of the central office members will take their respective areas to give just a quick glimpse of successes and opportunities as we move forward. So just one of the things that I'd like to highlight this year, I've placed them in terms of our guiding principles and highlighted a few of them. So as we look forward, we look at recruiting and retaining high quality teachers. One thing I'd like to note, out on the first 4 bulleted items, all of these people received Teacher of the Year in their respective areas. And then one of them, a Creekside counselor, was a national finalist. She was in the top 6 for Elementary Counselor of the Year. So just outstanding in the delivery of instruction for us. Also, we have 2 new principals at the high school, middle school, and if you remember, one of the goals that I talked about was continue to work with them and grow their leadership, and they're doing an outstanding work. Looking at exposing students to a wide variety of opportunities. Girls on the Run, if you remember, Jennifer George came and presented a new opportunity for our kids at CBIS, where it's both an integration of running and fitness and emotional fitness as well. So they had 2 teams that finished a 5K in late fall, and they're now starting up again with the integration of programs at Needham Elementary and CBIS. Webb, are you starting also? I don't think you are, right? Yeah. Yep. So that's a highlighted program. Destination Imagination. We had outstanding success again. Needham Elementary, if you recall, went down to Knoxville and presented and represented us well. Our engineering class, you're going to vote a bit later in the agenda to add engineering class. But one of the things, we're seeing some excitement and movement for our students to explore engineering. And then if you recall, we did have the donation of a 3D printer to our community, and we wanted to highlight that and say thank you. We have several student athletes that are powerlifting national champions, and that is actually an outside club that participates, and we've highlighted them at different board meetings. And then we had 3 endeavors that really expose our students to a wide variety of opportunities in a new and different way, and that's Cub Care, Cub Academy, and Cub Quest. That's the child care before, our preschool program, and then enrichment successes. And all 3 of those are integrated to help us move students to that next level, and they're doing an outstanding job of that. Empowering students to take ownership in their learning. This semester, we're actually moving forward with that, the internship opportunities for our students, but the partnership was formed a year ago, where the chamber came together and they've actually recruited businesses. We have, I believe, 13 students. Is that right, Mr. Martin, or is it more than that now? How many students are taking advantage? The chamber meeting, I think they said 13. Yep. And then also to highlight the C9 Career Fair, we had over 50 students participate from the middle school and high school, and then in turn, Inverse Hauser donated $500 to the respective schools to support and augment what's happening inside of that world. Systemic continuous improvement. We continue our Cummins partnership and professional development. We had myself, Mr. Kirby, and Dr. Pettit go through the 3 weeks or about 120 hours of Greenbelt training, and we're finishing up those projects as we speak. Also, foster inclusion and transparent decision-making environment, our master agreement negotiations, and continuing with our CBA, and then just the FCTA partnership. Last spring, I had the opportunity to talk to the school board and superintendent's group about our partnership and how we collaborate. And I would say that We don't always agree on everything, but you know what? We do come together and move forward in a very strong partnership. And if we look at how we interact versus many, many other places, we'll take our journey all the time. And so I want to highlight them and say thank you to that. Leadership, our student leaders, and this is just one, but our dance marathon success, we're getting ready to eclipse $100,000 donated. And remember, you just voted to allow the kids to paint the parking lots as one of those endeavors. Very creative. And then teacher leaders, our PLC training, this is year 2. This actually came out of a Six Sigma project. Continue to move that forward. And then evaluation 3.0 for our teachers that really focuses more on what we're doing in an organic fashion as opposed to something that the state delivered to us. Communication, looking at effective businesses, obviously our JMH partnership where we were able to partner with them for nursing services, and in turn, we're able to use that revenue that we would have had to allocate in a different manner, and that's outstanding. RDC continues to be a strong partnership for Franklin Community Schools. Today was the first day that the 8th grade students received Chromebooks. I believe at least one team, is that correct? Receivers. And unfortunately, weather caused a delay for them and they did not get everybody. But tomorrow, it's my understanding that all kids will get their Chromebooks. So we want to thank them and say that's a great thing, which also means that our grades 5 and 6 will now get Chromebooks. And here's a little secret that Matt's going to hopefully be able to pull off and tell everybody. We're looking at actually getting Chromebook carts down at the elementary. One of the things that we're seeing at the tour as we travel and talk to people in Northwood is like we have a calendar that goes on instead of a stopwatch to see how long it takes to get the computers booted up. It takes that long, and they're telling us they start them up, they do other activities, and they finally get to them, or they omit them completely. Well, Matt believes that through this partnership, we may have enough computers to actually take carts into the elementary for grades 3 and 4. So we're looking forward to that and say thank you. Communicate effectively with community. Franklin Police Department and our SRO program. Obviously, it was highlighted in December in an unfortunate scenario, but it is a strong partnership. We just want to thank Chief O'Sullivan, Deputy Chief Tindall, and many others that work with us. And then Mary does a great job as our lead SRO. Johnson County Prosecutor's Office, last year, Mr. Doty and I traveled down to meet with the prosecutor and his team to look at what are the best ways to interact when something happens at school where a criminal offense may have occurred, so that we don't impede on their opportunities to press charges. Because if you read the paper, if you remember last year, there were a couple incidents in the county, not around our school system, where things got stymied and they actually had to throw some things out. And we had one incident where they didn't feel like they could move forward. So Bill and I traveled down. We now have protocols set up so that when we do searches, everyone can feel safe and secure. If something happens, we can move forward in the criminal endeavor if need be. The Franklin leadership meetings with the mayor, the president of college, CEO of the hospital, and myself continue, and that continues to be a strong partnership. One of the things that we're looking at with Dr. Miner and the college is looking at how we could further support our preschool and kindergarten initiative. And there's some things that's going to come out in the next couple of months around that I think is pretty exciting. We did present at the ISBA conference. Mr. Thompson and team led through an hour-long session of what we're doing in our school district that really is different than most. And from that, we had a Six Sigma training that Mr. Mercer, Mr. Doty, Mr. Sprout, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Lamb facilitated, where we had 6 schools come in and we're helping them think through one of their big problems. That next day coming up is the 19th, I believe, and Mr. Mercer just done a phenomenal job with that. Communicate effectively with students. Each year, I meet with freshmen in college during their Christmas break, and I ask them, tell me about our school. Now that you've been out for 6 months, what do we need to do? How are you being prepared as you sit in that classroom? And it's been great. So that actually just took place, and it's something we highlight. And then Leah sat in with me as well. And then we take that back to the faculty here and look what we can do to try and provide and augment support. And then effectively communicate with our parents. We continue to have our strategic plan review. In addition, I didn't highlight this, but I do want to highlight, I do meet with PTO presidents every quarter. We just had our third one this past week. And there we're looking at sharing ideas and creating synergy to help our schools. And it's really been it's a nice meeting because we'll start off talking about something and they just start shifting to different ways to help support. So that's one that we look to continuing. And the last one, I mentioned the JMH RDC and then the JCDC partnership where I sit on the board for Johnson Community Development Corporation. And we do get the opportunity to host investors as they come into the area. Mr. Mercer sat in on a meeting in the last part of 2015, and we were able to talk about what we're doing to help educate if they bring people in here. And the last one, you've heard a little bit about, we're going to do the strategic plan coming up and then continuing with our Six Sigma projects, special education, looking at how we get more kids in C9, also instruction, that's Mr. Kirby's with technology. And one that really wasn't our project, but it actually helped in investing in the ArtCraft of over 300,000, correct? 375,000. We helped ArtCraft look at their journey and looked at how we can pull those together. And it was Mr. Doty that facilitated that meeting using Six Sigma. So we've impacted the community beyond Franklin Schools with this pedagogy and thought process. So that's the year in review, kind of just looking ahead for our district. I'm not going to read all these, but I think the major areas are looking at accountability and academic achievement. We need to continue to focus on that in our journey to good to great. Strategic plan. One thing that you are going to look to see is that the third guiding principle is leadership. One of the things we've talked a lot about is we want leaders. However, we do believe that collaboration actually is more of who we are as we look at getting teachers to grow, look at all the different things. So we're going to ask the board, look at taking collaboration, become a guiding principle, and then leadership would become an indicator of success underneath that. We're looking at growing student leaders, growing teacher leaders and opportunities and how we collaborate. So that's one of the changes you're going to see. The other thing, looking at collaboration, we've had this conversation for many years. How do we make sure that teachers have time to talk and collaborate and have purposeful agenda? Well, we are creative in many ways. If you look at the building principals, they're doing everything under the sun to create that time. High school has late arrival Wednesday. If it is so important, and it is important for us, we need to have a unified structure on collaboration. It's a must. It's no longer, I think, one thing we want to ask the teachers and principals to pull off, because the teacher's plate is extremely full. And then we're asking, hey, how about giving up your prep time right now? Or how about you staying after school for an additional 40 minutes? You know what? We value the synergy that takes place in that, the great conversations around data and instruction. It's time in 2016 that we really step up and create a structure that everybody understands how we do it and what we're going to do. So be looking for that as we move forward. And then contract negotiations, we are meeting again probably the end of February as we travel through. It's a one-year contract. We are looking for that. Insurance is a big thing. We are having a committee, Mr. Wallace, I think Mrs. Kepner and a couple others looking at insurance, and then Mr. Mercer and myself, and then JA Benefits will be the facilitating partner that comes in and talks about our insurance opportunities for our district. The trust, we know, Mr. Wallace and I were in a conversation email, the trust is already telling us the rates are going up again. So what can we do to continue to provide the best service for our teachers and for all of us around that? And then additionally, infrastructure development, you know, the GEO bond work's coming up, and you're going to see that in just a little bit. Today's meeting, probably the biggest thing on there is the help at Union Elementary, and Mr. Doty will continue to move forward with that as we deliver that. One thing to highlight on that, and go back to that PTO partnership, you know, we have put, I believe, $30,000 in for playground equipment for each school. Is that correct? 3 schools. A lot of the PTOs put forth their own money to help build infrastructure and playground equipment. So we may need to have a conversation about how can we trade off on some of that so that we can either provide new opportunities for students that we pay for, and that way the PTO doesn't feel like, hey, we're duplicating services here. So that was actually one of the conversations we talked about at our PTO president's meeting, and that's something we need to continue to focus on. I do believe it's time that we do a demographic review and projection for the future. You know, we spent so much time with Circuit Breaker, and Jeff's done a magnificent job of making sure our finances are in line so that we can meet the gap of Circuit Breaker. It's now time that we actually look forward the next 10 years, I believe, and have a demographic review of our community. We know the west side of the boundary is going to eventually grow, but what's that really look like? We know the east side is going to grow with the Needham property. What's that really look like? What's the impact at Needham Elementary and at Union Elementary? And what's the impact at CBIS, middle school and high school? And we just need to have a plan for that. So I'm going to ask that we look at that. And then the safe, secure learning environment for SRO program. One thing that you're going to hear later tonight is I'd like to have an executive session next month to talk about our safety plans. It is actually one of the things we can have an executive session on to talk about some things that could help us. And one of them is going to be the SRO program. And then continuing with projects, we're looking at transportation, looking at how do we make sure that we have the workforce that meets their needs of getting kids to and from. One of the things that I'm doing this year, and I started this week, I'm riding one bus a week, either before school or after school, just to get experience of the ride. I rode a bus where we had probably 86 kids going to Northwood Elementary. And I wanted to kind of hear, because one of the stressors what I'm hearing from bus drivers who talk to Mr. Dickinson is that the management of the students on the bus is really becoming very difficult. Well, that's great to hear, but for me to see it, I think will be also beneficial as we look forward. So that's one of the things that I'm doing. If you want to join me, let me know. I'll tell you what bus I'm going to ride, and you're more than welcome. We're looking at data and continuing to make the best decisions around data. And the last one I want to mention is special services. You know, we've talked about special services a couple of meetings ago with Center Grove. We voted to say, yep, they can get out. And that's not until 2017. We really need to look at Franklin schools. What are we doing with special services? What do we do with special education? Our December 1 count is up. We are going to receive more revenue from that. But we need to make sure that we're delivering the best instruction for all of our kids. And we need to look at our partnership with special services. So that will take place in 2016 as well. This is now.
Going to highlight just a few of the things that Dr. Clendenning did not talk about in regards to curriculum instruction and assessment. As we look at 2014-15 school year and some things that we accomplished, especially in curriculum, we adopted social studies this past year, implemented that this current school year. We implemented a K-12 writing program, and we had a very nice high ability audit that gave us a lot of direction for how we want to head and move forward in that area. For instruction, we added a third instructional coach. So now we have an instructional coach for the elementary, one for 5 through 8, and one specifically for the high school. We added an elementary and secondary EL teacher, which has been a big boon for us. If you remember last year, we also had kind of a program audit with the state in regard to our English language learner program. And one of the things they indicated was we needed to beef that up a little bit. And I feel like we've done a good job with that so far this year. Summer school is another area that we were able to make more robust this past summer. And that was in large part due to the Duke Energy grant that we received. And then PLCs are always going to be a part there. For assessment, all I could say was we survived the I-STEP debacle. And we are pretty proud of that. So we're moving on. Professional development around all of those areas was around writing, PLC leader training, high ability teacher licensure, new teacher orientation, training for our EL instruction, and not just the EL teachers, but the general ed classroom teachers as well. And then we have a new and improved teacher evaluation rubric. And another area I think we do that I don't know that all districts do is we have started to provide a lot of training for our classroom assistants. Because they work with these kids one-on-one or in small groups. And so some of the same training we're taking teachers through, we're also taking our classroom assistants through. As we look ahead to 2016, hopefully tomorrow we have a full day of an online library resource professional development that we're going to use in our developmental reading classes. We are later this week also going to meet with our 5 through 12 world language teachers and make sure that we have that program in alignment. It's our year to adopt math. And one of the things we're doing in kindergarten through 4th grade is having a representative from each school meet as a district grade level and determine what are our essential standards or essential learnings that we're making sure every student in every school is getting. For instruction, we're really focusing on rigor and guiding students towards the depth of knowledge levels 3 and 4. As you know, this year we still haven't heard about the formative assessment grant, the final outcome, but we're moving ahead with DIBELS, K1, and NWEA assessments for grades 2 through 10. This is the first time we've had a choice really and that the state will pay for as far as our formative assessments. We are adding a new I-STEP test this year for 10th graders. So 10th graders get to take the ECA and the I-STEP. It's a lot that really is stinky to be a 10th grader this year, but you're taking a lot of tests. For professional development, we're going to continue to focus on our PLC leader training, writing, figuring out what this new I-STEP looks like, the depths of knowledge, 3 and 4, and then a really interesting little professional development opportunity I'm working with the coaches, and this really came from the teacher cadre. At their request, they want to get in and watch each other teach. They feel like we have a lot of great teaching going on in our buildings, and they can learn a lot from each other. So we are putting some construction around a peer observation model that we hope to start in late January, early February.
I've long thought that an effective leader, first and foremost, surrounds himself or herself with good people, and I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by 4 ladies in my office that do a phenomenal job and allow me to do a lot of the things that you see on the screen here. As a matter of fact, if you've ever been in the central office, you'll know that I am boxed in the back of the building by 6 women, and Robin and Carissa being in the HR and my 4 ladies in the business office. So if I ever get out of line, I am quickly snapped back into reality by 6 people that do a great job. This is really kind of the year of partnerships in many ways. A lot of that's been facilitated by Dr. Clendenning, who's done a masterful job of pulling groups in, and then oftentimes I get the pleasure of coming in behind and working through some of the details, which is terrific. We did, as he mentioned earlier, assist negotiating the new JMH contract, and that's a significant step. In fact, I had a school from Northern Indiana contact me just the other day and say, how did you guys do that? And anytime that we can kind of set the pace, I feel good about that. I think we all do, and that's an example of that. More importantly, it's going to help us in so many ways, being able to fund things that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to fund. The key is to be able to effectively fund things that you really need to have funded, and we're working hard on that. We did assist this year. Robin Betts, Carissa Bratcher took on the yeoman share of this, but assisted in the supplemental insurance transition. You know, occasionally you see things that you don't think are going as well as they need to, and that was certainly one that Robin and Carissa and myself saw that felt like we probably needed to shore up a bit. And so we brought in JA Benefits, and although it was a lot of work to get it started, both financial positive ramifications for employees and streamlining information and making the process for the business office and HR go much smoother is undoubtedly happening. Big highlight this year, or last year actually, with the help of Mr. Young and others, is the refunding that will help us save not only $900,000 in 15, but over $900,000 in 16 as well. And when you live through the circuit breaker environment, that's kind of important. Another partnership this year, Katie Smith, Sandra Brown, Bill Doty, Heather Richards, and countless others who have jump-started 2 entrepreneurial pursuits, Cub Care and Cub Academy. They've both gone swimmingly well. Bill Doty headed up the Cub Quest, which I know he'll touch on in a moment. Those are opportunities that go beyond just the dollars that they generate, but the revenue is significant. They've really come off without a hitch. A lot of that has to do with the process that Katie put in place and that Bill put in place. Have done a great job. I do want to re-highlight the Art Craft Theater. Bill and Matt Sprout both did a terrific job of helping us work with the Art Craft, and that was a presentation in front of the RDC, and I have to tell you, Bill hit it out of the park and really took all those data analytics that we've talked about and that Darren kicked off 10 years ago, and you watch it come to fruition. It's kind of fun. And it was kind of fun for Rob Schultz to get $375,000 for their HVA system. We did kick off this year for the first time, Six Sigma presentation for other schools, all the way from Blackford to Scottsburg and several in between. We've got a second day of training coming up next week. That's kind of fun to watch them get started as well. And I am taking on an increased role in the Franklin Development Corporation. With Danny sitting on the RDC and Dr. Clendenning being so involved with all the things that he's doing, it's really nice to have an impact on our community, and FDC allows that to happen. That's the group that provides dollars for facade grants and loans and helps collaborate in a variety of ways. This coming year, we'll continue to manage through the circuit breaker situation. That's not going to go away. I'll touch on that in a moment. We are going to do a wage and benefit analysis for support staff. We worked a little bit on that with Certified this past year, and we'll work with Bill and his group again. But non-certs, it's been 4 or 5 years. It's time to do that. We do have GeoBond coming up. We have Six Sigma Training Day 2. I am serving on the inaugural Indiana Association of School Business Officials Data Analytics, which is really Forecast 5 in disguise a little bit. But that'll be kind of fun to work with folks in my position across the state as we kind of put together our approach for data analytics. And then clearly, as Dr. Clendenning indicated, we'll be taking a look at medical and dental insurance plan revisions. And I do want to, because I don't get much of an opportunity to do this, highlight Dr. Clendenning's work with the trust in allowing JA Benefits to take the leadership role. We saw massive positive financial impact yet this week after a month or 6 weeks with JA Benefits in place. And I think we knew that would happen, but it wouldn't have happened had he not taken the opportunity to lobby in that regard and help the trust move in that direction. So that's a little bit about finance this year.
I broke the technology side up into a soft side and hard side, the numbers and then the soft side of technology. We'll look at that side first. The Google Summit was an exceptional opportunity for not only Franklin Community Schools, our teachers, but the surrounding community. And we are excited that they enjoyed Franklin so much. We actually had the presenters request to come back. And so we're excited about the next opportunity. We are going to get a whole new line of presenters, but we're looking forward to the Google Summit. One of the items that Dr. Clendenning applied for and we won was the statewide team award, the 2015 Indiana Chief Technology Officer Council. So that was quite the award for our school district. We were the first school in Indiana to take over the Indiana Department of Education Instagram. We took it over for a week this year and showed the rest of the state or whoever followed the Instagram account how Franklin does technology. That was a great opportunity. As Bill and Jeff and David have mentioned, we've worked through a number of Six Sigma projects. We're also looking forward to that continued collaboration with the schools that are coming, bringing problems, figuring out the opportunities and resolving those. This year, we worked with our FITS teachers. You may remember that there's a facilitator of instructional technology teacher at each location, at each building. These teachers came together and we created an item called Technology Principles, which is a vertical alignment of what technology needs, what technology should be taught at what grade level. And so we're going to be able to put this in front of the teachers so that they can implement it in their everyday class. RDC funding, that's a continued collaboration. We're excited about the middle school Chromebooks. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. Based on our technology implementation, we've had 2 school visits, which we're also excited about. Hard side of technology. I know you're asking why is 2.6 million written up there. I'll be glad to answer that since you asked. The 2.6 million, that's the number of Google Docs that were created this year across our school district. Your next question is why is there 13.2 million? That's the number of emails that we have sent inside and outside and within the school district. 4.7 terabyte. That's the amount of data we send and receive it to and from the internet every day, every week, every month, It's every week. Every week across the school district, we send and receive 4.7 terabytes of data. To put that in perspective, if we were to print out all of that data, it would take 235,000 trees every week. So we're excited about that. You can see the fruits of the Chromebooks and the technology. We are Category 2 E-rate funding. You helped us purchase the switches across the district that will help our infrastructure. And then most recently, Dr. Clendenning put a goal of mine this year was to create a venue for students to speak to other students. And the Department of Education has grabbed onto that and has awarded us a $20,000 grant to help expedite that. Upcoming this year, we've got the Google Summit, Chromebook distribution at the middle school, we're excited about, and then following the Chromebook distribution at the intermediate school. You may recall this year, we had 2 school visits. It's January 11th, and we've already got 6 schools on the docket this year to come visit Franklin Community Schools. Once again, we're looking forward to the student presentation. You will find me later in the year circling back on the E-rate Category 2 funding. This is what purchases of switches earlier, but we still have some funding that we'll be able to expend on other buildings. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Well, as Jeff said, there's a lot of people that are a part of all of this and everything that goes on in the corporation. That's no different with operations. It encompasses the vast majority of our group here at the school corporation and classified staff. And so while I'm presenting, it doesn't mean I can take responsibility or everything that goes, for all the good things that go on here. But so I'll just want to highlight a couple things, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about anything bulleted here. Energy conservation management year in review for 2015. We're on target for another $250,000 plus in cost avoidance. I don't have the December numbers in yet, but should have those in probably in the next 3 weeks. And we may even get close to $300,000 in cost avoidance there. Worker safety, we've been self-insured for a few years now, and a lot of good work by a lot of good people to reduce our cost outlay there. But another metric that we would use is an incident rate, and we sit at 3.85, and the industry standard for us, for our industry, is 4.1. So we're in good shape with an incident rate there. And then you heard CubQuest, Dr. Clendenning and Jeff have highlighted CubQuest, and we have a lot of good classes already started this week. We have foreign language. Krista Intriago has started her foreign language class at Custer Baker. That's going off. Watch Me Sculpt is in every school. That's started this week. We have Amanda Martin is leading a CPR class, starts this Saturday. We're struggling a little bit to get the Suzuki String Orchestra off and running. We have only two students signed up for that. 2 Custer Baker students, so we're going to push that start date back from this week. We're going to push it back to February 4th, see if we can promote a little more to some Custer Baker students. I have 2 3rd grade girls that are willing to sign up, although they don't know it yet. But so we could potentially get to 4 in that class. So, but I think we're going to get there. Rachel Grease is our instructor in that class, and she assures me that it's going to take off, and we just have to be patient and keep promoting it. Thanks to Robin Betts I don't know if you've heard her on Corn Country on the radio. She did a great job with the radio ad there, and then she and I were on the morning show last Tuesday, so that was fun to be in the corn crib, right, Robin? So CubQuest is off and running, and we just need some help in promoting it. So anytime you see anything, Facebook, Twitter, retweet and send it out, like it and share it if you could. The Artcraft project that you heard talked about, that was interesting and fun at the same time to use those data analytics to help Franklin Heritage, Rob Schiltz secure funding for that Artcraft and such a great landmark and cornerstone for our city. So I was really appreciative of Jeff to help me work in that project. So that is the year in review. Moving forward to next year or this year, transportation project, we need to address driver shortage. It's a national problem, not just a local or state problem. It's a national problem. Unemployment rate for Johnson County is at 3%. One of the reasons why we have a driver shortage, it's a good thing. Unemployment is down. It's a great thing, but we need to make sure we can attract and retain quality employees. It's one of our guiding principles. So I think with the help of Doug and the committee that we've put forward or put together, we're gonna secure that. Part of that will be that wage and benefit analysis that we're going to do for the transportation department and drivers. Continue with CubQuest, promote that, and the GeoBond projects. There's going to be a lot of coordination there, and you'll see here in a little bit, I've got an action item for you to help me kick that off. So the last thing I just want to highlight is looking at school safety. We have a meeting this Friday with our safety team to start looking at plan revision, our quick reference guide or flip chart. It needs to be revised. There's some language in there that's no longer relevant. And so we're going to look at that. Tornado shelter locations, we think we want to hire a consultant to come in and review those. It's been a long time since that's been looked at in our buildings. So we need to do that, reunification procedures, and improve communication protocols. This is something that came out of the bomb threat that was here at the high school on December 18th or December 17th, sorry. We're looking at when, the time of day when you would receive alerts and messages and information from the school so that people just don't dismiss an email or a phone call. So we're going to look at those things so that we know people are getting the message when we're sending it out. And so that's something that we want to work on. And then obviously the secured school safety grant for the SROs. Dr. Clendenning talked about that, and we want to move that forward too, and maybe even more robust in that area. So those are the things for operations.
Concludes the year in review.
What a year, right? A lot of dedicated administrators, teachers, support staff. So thank you very much. That will bring us to the middle school Chromebook distribution. Mr. Sprout.
This is on the list about a week ago. I was really excited. It will very, very rarely does weather play with technology distribution, but as Dr. Clendenning mentioned earlier, it did. We're excited the Chromebooks are ready. Actually previous to Christmas, which is accolades to the team. The network infrastructure is ready. The switches have been replaced. So we're excited as well as the students are to get the rest of the Chromebooks out. We're looking forward to doing that. So we're right on track for all of that. So we're excited about that. It's good. Google Expeditions. This is an exciting opportunity for Franklin Community Schools that was actually spearheaded by the teachers. This is an opportunity for students to be able to visit places virtually. And what I'm about to pass out to you is called Google Cardboard. One of the items that Google laughed about as they announced what Google Cardboard, they said one of the newest piece of technology is made out of cardboard and onesies. And I'll pass this down. I literally want you to look through. But what's important to note is don't just look through it, but look to your left, look to your right, look up, look down, because it is think of it as a panoramic experience. And I'm also going to show a couple other videos. This one is a 3D object, so as you look through it, you can see the top, the bottom, left, right. This is a video, and in a moment you're going to see what all this can happen here. This is a great learning option. We had the opportunity, Google Cardboard is highlighted, the whole infrastructure of it is based on Google Cardboard. So when you hear Google Expedition, this is an opportunity for students to be able to come in to a class, be able to utilize these, and there's more than 100 expeditions. Would you like to go to Mars? Would you like to go to the bottom of the ocean? What about holding a piece of DNA? The engineers will get excited. Eli Lilly will get excited. I'm going to show you another video here in just a moment, if I haven't passed it up. I already passed it up here. I'm going to give this a shot. This is a doctor, and I'm not going to, the title gives it away here a little bit. Hopefully this video will start, but this is a phenomenal opportunity, and put this in correlation to our students at Creekside and Union have already been able to experience this.
I see the baby's heart. I see it in 3D. I can see it from the front, the back. I can see it from the top, and I can see it from the bottom.
Talk about a baby's heart.
Each one of these is a 2D image, but when I close it and I look through the lenses, then I get 3D, and I can move it just by turning my head. And you know, for a surgeon, that's everything. He knows exactly what he's going to get when he opens up that baby's chest.
That is so cool. You move and it moves the heart. It's almost like you're in her heart.
It's revolutionary because the way that we would plan surgery in the past is we took a two-dimensional image, and then in our mind we would have to process that and try to come up with an idea of what we were going to see when the baby's chest was open.
So your team sat in a room and all of you guys were doing this?
A bunch of us, yeah. Minutes and millimeters make the difference between getting it right and getting it wrong. Once we saw these images, we said, wait a second, we can figure this out. I think this is the difference between her living and dying.
I'm glad to tell you she is doing well and is at home recovering. She is 4 months old. The surgery took place 1 month and 1 day ago, December 10th. So this is still new technology. So just last week, our students were able to experience the opportunity of Google Expeditions. Google decided to visit 3 schools at Franklin Community Schools. They'll visit Creekside, Needham, and Custer Baker. Obviously, Creekside is where we have the pictures from. The pictures are worth 1,000 words. I'm not going to say too much. I'll stop on a few. But the excitement that these students experienced is just phenomenal. This scenario is the students are visiting North Pole. See the student reaching out? Literally, it is that realistic. The students reach out for items. You see the teacher over here trying to direct things. The students are all over the place. It was really an exciting opportunity. And yes, the teachers enjoyed it too. It was engaging. I'm not quite sure this teacher ever took the goggles off of his eyes the entire time. You can see the smiles on the students' faces. I'd like to stop here real quick to kind of explain to you how Google Expeditions works. The teacher has a tablet at the very front of the room. You may know Lucy from Creekside. You'll notice right here there's a circle. So what she's done is that they're in a doctor's office. She's tapped on the circle. Now all the students holding these goggles have a little arrow to turn around to see what the teacher's looking at. What's awesome about this is the teacher on the tablet can see where all the students are looking. So she can see if Joey's not paying attention over here, Joey, the class is over here, come join us. And so as you can see over here to the right side of her screen is wording. It talks about what's happening and gives the teacher direction on what to explain to the students. And if they need eye contact, they also have the ability to black it out. It was funny. All the kids were loud and excited. They blacked it out, and it was a unanimous moan of grief. Well, this is my favorite picture. This is my favorite picture. The student in red is trying to explain to the student in black where the snow cap is. And he's got his finger out there, and it is literally that engaging. It was an exciting opportunity. And yes, adults point too. So this is a teacher pointing to the student in front of her where the student is supposed to look. And it's funny because we didn't realize that you point because you see it. And this is so engaging that it felt realistic. This is my favorite, one of my favorite pictures. The student put the Google Cardboard up to her eyes, looked to the left, looked to the right, put the cardboard down and made that face. It was truly an intriguing experience. These are, we are one of the places that the Google Expedition Frontier is going to visit. Obviously, they're going to visit the United States, Singapore, Denmark, Brazil, and Canada. So we're excited about them being here in Franklin again. One of the things we want to talk about is how this affects the classroom. This is a great opportunity. You may remember that we talked about SAMR. That's technology implementation in the classroom. It's integration. It's an acronym. S is substitute, A is augment, M is modify, R is redefine instruction. These redefine instruction. Without this, without this piece of technology, you would not be able to teach what the students are learning. Student engagement, as you talk to Dr. Prendini or Deb Brownelli, they'll tell you that engagement is important. I'll read this for reference. Student engagement refers to the degree of attention, curiosity, interest, optimism, and passion that students show when they are learning or being taught, which extends to the level of motivation they have to learn and progress in their education. I had the opportunity to basically pan left to right, and I'd like for you to tell me if this class is engaged. That is a phenomenal opportunity when it comes to technology integration. Be glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, so cool. So, I mean, that might be one of the coolest things I've seen. You know, why are they? What brought them here?
I'm sorry?
What brought Google Expedition?
The teachers, and I apologize, I'm so glad you said that. The teachers on here, each teacher at each school applied. So they put in for their school district, or for their school system, Sarah Records at Creekside, Melissa McCain at Needham, and Whitney McCarthy at Custer Baker applied for them to come to our school system, and their application went through.
Very good.
Can I add a comment to that? What was neat about that, the elementary level, we didn't have enough classes to sustain a Google Expedition. So Creekside paired with Union, and Needham is paired with Webb, so that more kids have the opportunity to experience Google Expedition.
If anybody in the audience would like to see those a little later, I'll be glad to.
I passed them around during your conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just as much fun.
As always, we bring Mr. Mercer right up to talk.
I would like to see your Google Expedition on finances.
There it is.
Yeah.
I will tell you though, it sure makes life a whole lot more enjoyable to try to figure out how to make it work financially when you have teachers and staff that do those kinds of things. That's what it's all about. You know, when I spent a little time at Franklin College and came back here to the district, and I've said this many times, there was a day and time when we stared up everybody else's tailpipe, and at the risk of sounding very egotistical, which I don't think that I am, we don't stare up anybody's tailpipe anymore. I'm pretty proud of that. I think it's a credit to all of you and to all these folks. Those days are over. This is the end of the year financial statement. I'm not going to bore you with details. I do have 5 slides because I always think it's easier to see something as opposed to me just talking about numbers at random. I will say this, I said in the other slide, literally all of our funds came in at or about where we thought they would be. The one that I want to highlight that appears, if you've looked at it, to be down a little bit is the school lunch program. I want to make 2 comments. First of all, they've got a couple reimbursables that cut across the year that wasn't reflected in there. The second thing is, and I mentioned this to you before, school lunch is actually in 2 different spots, one about midway under the actual cash and bank balances, and then one all the way down at the bottom. They made us split out prepaid accounts from the regular accounts. But beyond that, each year I budget $10,000 for cafeteria equipment, which would not literally be a drop in the bucket. And then Jill promptly spends none of that. And so she spends her own money in purchasing all of the equipment. I can't tell you the last time we purchased equipment. It was at the renovation of a school, the middle school. So that's one of those things. In fact, the State Board of Accounts indicated that we need to do a better job of her spending money. That's a good thing to have happen, is when they tell you got to spend more money than you are. So she's done a terrific job. The rest of them came in pretty good. I wanted to cover just a couple different items. I think these are barometers of either things that we want to look at or things you just might be interested in. This is a historical trend from 2006 to 2016 in enrollment. The last couple of years, you know that they do a fall count, they do a spring count. So I've included those as well. The trend line is up, although I will tell you that if you look at it from 2007 to current, we're only up 69 kids and a little bit more. So that's really not much, not when you consider Clark Pleasant going 125 to 200 kids a year. And so along with that comes some other challenges too, like facilities. But the reality is we've been able to manage through this financial thing without just a whole lot of additional growth. Last year, in fact, from fall to spring, we dropped 70 kids. It appears as though that's not going to happen nearly as significantly as it did last year. At least I hope not. We're about at the break-even point at this time anyway. General fund operating balance at the end of the year in 2008 ended up a little over 2.8 million, 9.01. Our target is 8%. We have historically tried to keep that in line. Dr. Clendenning, when and if he has to add staff, does so from that gap in between the 8% area, give or take just a little bit. The other thing that we've tried to manage through too is the recognition that we've got a pretty significant insurance increase coming, and we've got a wage and benefit analysis that needs to be done. Both of those probably expect to require a little bit more money. So we're fairly healthy in the general fund operating balance. Our rainy day history from 2006 to 15, we are at the highest point in the history of the school district. We've certainly done that through no small effort on the part of the building principals and our staff and teachers in just not spending money and transferring it to rainy day. That's our slush fund, if you will, for circuit breaker loss. Now, we've kind of figured out circuit breaker to some degree, but you kind of never know where that's going, as I'll show you in a moment. But we've managed to put together a pretty sizable amount of money in rainy day. I think we're at a point now where I'm pretty comfortable where we're at. And so one of the things that we've talked about this year, in fact, we've already done, is we've begun to free up some of the CPF monies, especially for Matt to do some technology things that he hasn't, and for the building principals to do some things that they've been waiting on. And I told you before, up to now, they've literally had to call when they wanted to buy batteries. So for me to free that up a little bit is a great thing for them and for me too, honestly. This is a circuit breaker loss historically from the time of inception in 2011. Over that 5-year period of time, we have actually physically lost $12.8 million. And that's a big hit when you consider many other school districts not losing anything, or some not near that much. There are some that have lost more than us, which would be devastating. But $12.8 million would have allowed us to do a whole lot of things that we're not currently able to do. But we've, as I said, kind of figured out life. This last slide is an indication of what happens when you can't spend money. And I hope at some point that the General Assembly will recognize the need to begin spending money, because this is the average age of our bus fleet. Doug Dickinson has done a terrific job of negotiating purchases of used buses this past year. Because we were in decent shape, we allowed Doug to spend his bus replacement. He's in the process of purchasing 6 buses, so I hope that this average age will go down a little bit, but they're going to come to roost here before too much longer if we don't continue to manage through this. So all those 5 funds that we live in each and every day all play together now in this big world. And so if we're able to manage rainy day and those kinds of things, then we can hopefully have some impact on the average age of the bus fleet. So that's just a very quick snapshot of the end of the year, I would say, in large part thanks to many. And it's not just one answer, it's a whole series of answers. Bill Doty alluded to the fact that we're going to have cost avoidance of over $300,000. I hope everybody realizes that from 2012 to now, we've not only not spent more money despite increases in all kinds of utilities, we've actually spent less, and we're avoiding almost $300,000 this year, and those dollars can then be reallocated to other things. So lots of good partnerships and lots of people helping in a lot of ways. I would be happy to entertain any questions if you have any about how we finished the year.
I think just a comment on how well corporation's done under your leadership with that. When you consider the fact we've lost $12 million and yet we've still figured out how to manage to increase our operating cash balance back up to that 8% is a phenomenal story, no matter how you look at it. So well done to the corporation under your leadership.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. Customer service project.
I would mention this, Natalie's coming up here too. This is a project that actually has been undergoing now for over a year. Kudos to Natalie, to Jennifer Ponsler, to Pat Edwards, who really did the yeoman's share of the work on what you're about to hear. And I was just kind of along for the ride. So, Nat.
Yeah, our committee, we just wanted to give you a brief update on where we're standing right now. As Jeff mentioned, our project team, he is our leader. Pat Edwards, she has moved on and is over at Creekside Elementary now. And Jennifer Ponsler and myself are the head leaders for the project team. And we also pulled together a subcommittee members to help us filter down through all the different job responsibilities. Just a little bit of background. The customer service, this came out of what we call WIGs, our wildly important goals. The admin team had a list of goals that they wanted to achieve, and us girls at the office, we meet every Monday, and this was one of our wildly important WIGs that we wanted, as we call them, that we wanted to challenge. So the admin team decided that we would work on customer service. So in moving from good to great, it's our desire to excel in the area of customer service. We believe we have performed well in the area, but now it is just time for us to make it more intentional so that we can attract and retain quality employees as well as students and their families. The objective, we would like to recognize an excellence rating of 4 or 5 on a 5-point scale. And we'll do this through assessment surveys annually every year. And our project deliverables and outcomes are on here. I won't read everything for you, but we did a baseline survey. We've created a manual. We have a training plan, and we will also have a web-based customer service. And our project methodologies are all listed there: value statement and survey matrix, voice of the community and organization, organize voices into requirements, and development a presentation to superintendent and the Board of School Trustees. Now the more fun stuff. We created a survey to determine our baseline metrics. And so we did this to all the employees as well as a community survey. And we'll do this annually to measure our performances. We created an employee survey in March of 2014. We had 254 responses, and our average was 4.04. And our community survey, we had 437 responses, and our average on that was 3.97. Keep in mind that it probably seems like, well, why did we do customer service, since it seems like we're already doing it well? But we do want to make this the Franklin way of life and keep working on this. It's something that we need to do.
Might mention too that when we did the survey that Natalie and the others initiated, we did have Dr. Garner, Tim Garner from Franklin College, help create that so that it wasn't something that we threw together, but it was somebody that really knew how to do it.
We also created focus groups to get feedback related to the specific job roles and their responsibilities. Training will be paramount in providing effective customer services practices and transforming our schools to focus on our customers. So we created a training plan and materials that will be created individually for each group, because each group is going to be a little bit different. A customer service leader will be designated at each building, and we will incorporate customer service at each monthly meeting so that we can make customer service a reminder to everybody and keep it on the forefront so that it will become a Franklin way of life. We have a communication plan, and that will be through our website, electronic newsletters, our FCS internal newsletter, and we created a handbook that has tips and guidelines in it as well, which you have there at your seat. And we will do recognition. We will recognize employees who have been caught, per se, going above and beyond what is generally expected in resolving customer issues and setting an example for other employees. So if somebody sees somebody doing something, they can nominate them online. Anyone in the community can do this, not just the employees. And the nomination committee, they will select the nominees at the end of each 9 weeks. That person will be selected, and we will recognize them at the board meetings, as well as do a little short bio and put their picture on our website. We are going to roll this out to our support staff this year, and the next school year we'll roll it out to the teachers. We just want to make sure that everyone who comes in contact with FCS services is treated respectfully, cordially, and effectively. And the big three things is we want to improve the attitude and culture with consistent coaching. We don't want this just to be another thing. It's supposed to be who we are. And we want to be the employer of choice and provider of choice. So that's where we're at with this right now. Do you guys have any questions? Jeff?
Many thanks too to Cheryl Moran, who will serve as our trainer for customer service. So that will kick off soon.
Yep.
That's great job, Natalie. I know you had help, but thank you. You did a great job, very well thought out. I have all the trust and faith in you and your committee members. So nice work. All right, we're moving on to action items. Interdistrict transfers, Mr. Mercer.
Each year, I bring to you a massive packet of dollars that we've had to move around so that we can arrive at nothing in a balance that would have the color red. And so I am back this year. Anybody that would like to take a look at this for an hour or a week, you're able to do that if you'd like. Otherwise, I would just request approval of the interdistrict transfers, allowing us to take everything back to no less than a zero balance.
All right, thank you.
Move for approval.
There has been a motion for approval. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Doty, GeoBond.
Yes, I'll open one of these up just so the public can see it. But what you have there are all three of the proposals and AIA architectural contracts for STR Building Resources to prepare the bid documents and to also perform some of the construction management services for those three projects listed: the hardscape design, the roof replacement, and the exterior wall repairs at Union Elementary. And I've had Roger Young review these. He provided feedback to me. Everything seemed to be in order there. And so just seeking your approval for these here tonight. I believe the total, if you were to add all three together, is $89,000. When you look at the total dollar figure for all projects, that comes to about 7%, which is a typical architectural fee for design services. It's not out of the ordinary for projects like this. So seeking your approval to hire STR for the building design record for those projects.
All right. We have on the next item, just for clarification purposes, the first item is just, Mr. Young, can you explain the difference between B and C? I guess.
B and C. Well, B, what Bill is presenting are the contracts with the engineers to do the design.
All right.
And engineering work for the proposed project. C relates to the borrowing of the money and the spending of the money.
Okay.
They're related, but they're not related.
Fair enough. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Did we move for approval?
No.
I'd move for approval.
Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. GeoBond, Mr. Young.
Now, continuing on with Mr. Wertz's comment, now that we've voted to do the projects, we need to figure out how we're going to get the money paid for.
Got it.
And that's where we're at now. The money that you're going to be borrowing with your bond issue is new money. It was not a part of your 2016 budget. Therefore, when it comes in, it's anticipated to come in late March, it has not been appropriated. Okay, so it can't be spent. As we all know, the legislature tells us before we can spend money, it must be appropriated. So the first item under that heading is the hearing on the additional appropriation. That's been advertised in the newspaper and notices have been posted. The purpose of the hearing is for the board to hear public comment on the proposed appropriation of the bond proceeds to pay the cost of the project. So at this point, we will open the floor to any public comment on that proposal. I don't think we'll have any. So I think we'll close the public hearing.
Okay.
So at this time, I would ask the board to adopt the additional appropriation resolution, allowing the bond proceeds to be spent on the project that the board has previously approved.
Move for approval.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, now, the final item under there's one more that's not agenda, but it's really more of an administrative item, but it will need board approval when we get to it. But item 3 under that heading then is the adoption of the final bond resolution. That simply is a resolution adopted by the school board authorizing the sale of up to $2 million in general obligation bonds. These are direct obligations to the school corporation. They are not money that's being raised for you through a building corporation, okay, on a leaseback proposal, but rather direct loan. You do have the proposed final bond resolution packet. I would ask the board to approve that.
I move for approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding the proposal? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify with the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
One last item, and I think anyone probably in this room could do this job as well as I, and that's to introduce to you the continuing disclosure undertaking. You've heard me talk about this over and over and over again. Each time you borrow money, strike that. Each time you issue debt that's traded on the open market, you must promise the marketplace that you're going to disclose to it any adverse conditions in your operations that might have an impact on the value of that security that they're buying. You have a major taxpayer go out of business, like a Toyota plant. It's going to impact your ability to repay your debt. That's what this continuing disclosure undertaking is. It is simply a promise on behalf of the school corporation that if certain adverse circumstances arise that may impact the school's ability to repay its debt, that those circumstances will be disclosed to the appropriate entities. We have in place protocols to make sure that all the reporting requirements are going to be met timely, and that all other requirements and obligations contained in this disclosure undertaking are met. And I don't know if you recall, but several meetings ago, Mr. Mercer presented to you and you approved those protocols. So again, this is in connection with the financing, with the bond issue. And I would ask the school board approve the master continuing disclosure undertaking.
All right, it's been moved. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion, please signify with a sign of aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Great, thank you. For information, we'll be advertising these bonds for sale in mid-February. They will be sold at public auction. That is, the successful bidder is the one that bids the lowest interest rate. The bid committee is myself, Mr. Mercer, and Dr. Clendendi. We will be advised and informed by our financial advisor, Lonnie Thurber. Again, there'll be advertisements in the newspaper advertising this debt for sale. We hope for a good interest rate, and hopefully we'll close on this transaction in mid-March. Hopefully have funds available to you at the end of March, so you get on with your projects. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anything else on that?
That's it for now.
All right, thank you. Dr. Clendenning, Public Relations Coordinator position.
Last month, we brought a proposal to move forward with using some of the JMH proceeds to bring forth the Public Relations Coordinator for our district. As you know, we're spending a small portion right now of Mrs. Bett's job, role, and responsibilities to do that. We feel it's time that we continue to reach out and share our information and share our many successes, and this is just one step to doing that. So I would ask your approval of hiring and moving forward with the Public Relations Coordinator for Franklin Community Schools.
All right, thank you. It's been moved for approval. Are there any questions or comments regarding the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by the sign of aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Mrs. Brown-Nally, high school new course.
These are the same two courses that I brought last month. Mr. Thompson had a specific question about what the prerequisites would be for the engineering design and development course. And in talking with the high school and looking at their course description book, they are making that a 10 through 12th grade course with the prerequisites of the introduction to engineering and design, geometry, and chemistry and/or physics. So the rigor's there to have to take that course. So I'm just asking for your approval tonight for these two new courses.
All right. It has been moved for approval. Are there any questions or comments regarding?
I have one additional question. Are these weighted grades for either of these courses, or are they straight courses? Are they weighted? Are they additional? I don't know what. I don't know what vernacular you use on this. Are these standard courses or additional? There's no additional weight.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
Would you like to see the high school look at that as a opportunity as they look at weighted grades for all their curricula offerings? Just based on your knowledge.
I'll defer that to you, but it seems logical to me that a higher level engineering course, I can't speak.
It's usually a third year course, and that would be a second year course. But we can look at that.
Okay. If you could just make note of that and have that discussion, just get back with Mrs. Brown-Nally, that'd be great. That's a good point.
I can't speak to advanced competition. All I know is that for me, that would be like a senior level college course to take advanced composition would be punishment in all regards for me. So I would have to have it as a super duper weighted grade for me. So.
All right. Thank you.
All right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving on to discussion items. The Johnson County Public Library Board, Diane Black, correct?
Yes. Diana Black is going to relinquish her seat on the board after 8 years. And I think this will be over 20 years of service to our community, to our school district, if we combine her years of service on the board and the library. But she said it's time to kind of step aside and cede it to someone else. So we need to decide the process. Last time, if you recall, we posted the position. We held interviews. We had a board member sit on. We had Mrs. Brown-Nally and myself. But we need to decide how we're going to do that. This person needs to be in place by the end of March because I believe Diane still has 2 board meetings, February and March. I did meet with the new public library director, and she thanked Diane for her early, because she worked with her. She was the contact person actually in the new search. And so Diane did a lot of the legwork and behind the scenes. But we need to decide how we're going to do that.
So I remember going through the process last time. Is there anything that you would recommend?
The process last time worked quite well. I think we would ask them to submit a VITA in their interest. It's a letter of interest, and then we would interview, bring the final person to you for approval.
Sounds great.
Can I have one of you please to want to sit on the board, the committee? All right. So Christy, Deb, and I will be the committee, and we'll, with your permission, we will get that posted this week.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board and administrative comments. Dr. Clendening again.
I did not put this on purposely, but weather delays and weather days. We did have one today with regard to the process. Just want to remind everyone there is a procedure in place depending on when the weather arrives. We drive the roads. Tomorrow morning, there's a conference call at 5 a.m. To make the decision, and we'll try to make that as soon as possible. And just a reminder, we do have built-in days. Martin Luther King Day is the first one. However, in the past, we have looked at if we did not have the delay within 5 days of that, we would not use that day. So that was eclipsed. So even if we would have a cancellation Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday this week, we will not go to school Monday. We'll add it on to later in the semester. So just want to remind everyone that that is a part of the process. I do know weather is coming in tonight, and we are looking at what that could mean for us. Waiver Day, just wanted to remind everyone that unfortunately we did have to cancel the last day of the first semester. I have requested that the IDOE waive that day for us because it's really difficult for us to make up the last day of the semester when we're doing finals. Also, the anxiety and angst that was caused. There are 3 districts in the state that have also applied for the waiver day. Franklin Schools, Plainfield Schools, and Danville Schools, and they are waiting to rule on all of them together is my understanding. So as soon as I hear that, I will get back with you. If they deny it, we will use President's Day, February, to have that set up. ISTEP 2015, I'm going to defer to Mrs. Nally.
Sure, the scores were unembargoed this week or last week. And in taking a quick look and comparing our scores with the state average, which if you remember, that's how we set our goals last year, I think we're in pretty good shape. And I will bring a full report next month and to show you how each school did meeting their goals based upon how well we performed above the state average.
Next month, I would look to see that we would have an executive session before the February meeting. Probably take about an hour. We're going to look at the majority of it's going to be safety around our safe school learning environment. And then also as we move forward to informal negotiations, just want to talk about the details on that so we can move forward and have a successful negotiations and get that completed quickly.
All right, anything else, Dr. Clendening?
No.
Board, any comments, questions? All right, calendar.
Quick reminder, we will be off school on the 18th for MLK Day, and then on 29th, we are scheduled to go to the middle school for their annual quarterly visit or their quarterly visit. And does that still fit with everybody's calendar for the 29th? We would like to move the time to 7:15. Is that correct? We talked about today. So 7:15 instead of 7 o'clock because they do not start classes until a little after 8.
And one additional date from Mrs. Craig or Mrs. Smith was that the Cub Academy registration, the first open registration for next school year, is that correct? Is January 27th from 4:30 to 6 p.m. at Northwood Elementary.
And they probably need to go because I think we have 13 on the waiting list right now, do we not? There you go.
Okay.
All right. Now it's time for public comments. Are there any public comments? Hearing none, Mr. Vaught.
Move to leave.
And just as we were speaking about weather, Doug Dickens had just texted. It said Daymar is already on a 2-hour delay for tomorrow. So the weather must be coming.